up, man. Let me see that big old fish.
Here.
Pick him up.
Say fish.
Good gracious. Whoa.
Hold it right here.
Pick that thing up. Whoa, mama.
Here goes. That's your bell.
So I guess YouTube video number 1. This is my bandsawed lumber. It came from the trees right here on my property. Bandsaw was set up right over there. I had it cut into 2x6s. They were about 16/6 long. I also cut down a couple of my largest trees, and I had the sawer to just cut it into 1-inch planks, as wide as he could. He left the bark on the outsides, and I've been taking and popping a chalk line down each side, and then squaring over, getting the widest board that I can out of each one, popping another chalk line parallel to the first. So this is the front end wall. This is the only side that'll have board and batten side, and I did just make my camera the right orientation, so now it should work on YouTube a little better. But I've started at that first purlin. From there down will be brick framing around the door. I'm gonna have a sliding door. Had a lot of inspiration from a fellow YouTuber who I don't even have any association with, just enjoy watching this channel. But Justin Chambers over at the Rainfall Project, he's built an amazing barn, and trying to emulate him a little bit in this project. Thankful for some innovation on his channel that's kind of inspired me. So maybe one day I'll reach out to him. We're about as far apart in the United States as you can get geographically, so who knows. As I pointed out in the first video, I had a bandsaw mill. Found a guy on Facebook, lives right down the road. Turns out he's a really good guy, and I think a lot of people that you meet in this realm, they just hardworking, whether or not they do it full time or after hours, just good people. So glad to make that acquaintance, and did a really good job. On today's video, what I'm trying to highlight is whether or not it was a good decision to use bandsawed lumber to build this barn. Am I going to experience some kind of inherent trouble, whether it be shrinkage, whether it be infestation of bugs, or the moisture creating problems? I just wanted to make a few observations of kind of what I've experienced so far, and just give that as a highlight video. So one of the biggest questions that was concerning me was whether or not this green lumber, this lumber was cut right there. As I cut down the trees, I piled up the lumber, and that's where the bandsaw set up, was right beside it. Just so I give this detail, it was a Wood-Mizer LT35. The guy that came and cut it up, he had no assistance, no tractor, no forklift, and he was able to maneuver those logs, and it had hydraulic loading arms that it was amazing. But like I said, this is not a video about cutting up lumber. It's a video about whether or not it's a good idea to use lumber that's harvested in that manner, whether or not that's a good decision, or whether it's destined to fail. And so my observations at this point, I'm just going to give you a quick tour, I guess. So far, I've been very pleased that the wood that we've used, you can get a sense for how we framed all the structure. It shows up a lot better with the roof on it. So I feel like the project is really coming together. This may be a good shot for you to be able to tell that the wood that we cut is actually very straight. We have not culled any lumber, not one single piece, due to it being warped or some reason overly twisted, or there was no twist. A few of the boards did develop a small crown, as you can see in that board, and so in any instance where we did find a board that was crowned, we tried to use that as a wall girt and put the crown up, and any settling then that takes place only makes it more straight. But as you can see in the end wall framing, all of the lines are very true and plumb, and it does not look like it was framed from junk wood. Certainly not. We didn't reclaim any just trash wood pile. This is, I guess, one of the questions that a lot of people would have is, does the wood stay straight? If you cut it and just stack it up, does it stay straight, or do you come back a week later and you got spaghetti noodles all tangled together? My experience so far has been, as you can see, I still have yet to clean that pile up. I've got to clean it up, but that's where we cut it. We cut it there. We stacked the 2x6s here. We stacked the wood planks here. They stayed stacked up there for about a week, which is about how long it took for me to finish assembling these frames, and then I started the wood framing. They stayed there in the sun, and somewhat to their demise, I put a sheet of plastic over it, and the plastic, I'm afraid, is what led to the mildew problem. So I would say if I had it to do over again, I probably would not have put any plastic on it because, you know, this wood stayed uncovered and got rained on several times, you know, in their assembled place. So it's not like getting wet it doesn't seem to be very problematic at all. Just trying to give you a few highlights as far as the framing goes, that, you know, even where I notched each of the notches, it doesn't look like any shrinkage or swell has caused there to be an obvious problem developing. So I guess as the vertical stud shrinks or swells, it corresponds to any shrinkage or swelling in the purlin, the girt, whatever, going horizontal, and they seem to be moving together. The board and batten, thankfully, I'm not experiencing any splitting in the middle. Like I said, these boards are very, they have progressed a ton towards the dry state. So I'm very glad that any shrinkage that they have experienced has not resulted in them pulling themselves apart. And, you know, from the outside, you can certainly tell that it's not cupped. The boards, the sun has not curled them outward or had any problems. The battens seem to be successful at holding their corresponding boards as they're supposed to be, and seem to be making some pretty good progress. I have not finished framing the overhang here, which is why I haven't finished the roof metal. So I want to finish it out. I want it to end up looking something like what my house structure. I'm trying to tie the looks together. I guess as a conclusion to the video, just talking about the framing, the lumber, whether or not it was a good idea. So far, if somebody was going to come to me and say, you know, Jeremy, you're 2/3 of the way through this framing process, would you do it again the same? Would you do it differently? To this point, I have no reason to discourage someone from harvesting their own lumber, having it sawed, using it on their property to build something. You know, it seems like with a little bit of care, you know, I certainly have to do some bleach. It's certainly going to make it look better. As I was panning around and looking through some of the videos, I was, you know, I realized it too, that, you know, there's mildew on this wood. Certainly came from the plastic, like I talked about. Some of the wood that wasn't covered up certainly has a better appearance. But, you know, in general, if I was going to say, you know, do this or don't do this, I have no reason not to recommend to you. Find someone in your area. Find someone that has a bandsaw mill, or if you're considering purchasing a bandsaw mill for this type purpose. I have not experienced anything that would cause me to say you're going to be disappointed with the quality of lumber, you're going to be disappointed with the usefulness of the lumber, you're going to be disappointed with the way that the lumber transitions from being very green to being useful. You know, I'm certain that some bandsaw manufacturers would love to see this video and use somebody's testimonial like this that has experienced the use of the product made by their product, because it so far has been very easy to put to use in the fashion that I was looking for. It was kind of neat. I just got to have my first rain shower here in the workshop. So metal roof always sounds good. Don't know if you've ever heard that, but around here that's kind of a place of shelter. You run and get out of the rain and listen to it, and reminds me of things from a long time ago. So hope you like these videos. If you do, if you want to see more coming up, like it, subscribe to it, something. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.